off the cow.
What the fuck is that? A bull's penis.
But if Bruce Dickinson wants more cowbell, we should probably give him more cowbell.
Say, baby, I gotta have more cowbell, baby.
Some ball, Derbyshire, big moment. Flag is off. It doesn't count for now. What a pass from Shushaeta.
Welcome back to the Bull Banter podcast for this week, round 5. We're going to be up against Sydney FC. But before all that, I've got to let our audience know we've got 2 guests appearing today. First ever pod with guests appearing, and they're members of the new Bullpen. They're here to give their side of the story following the recent furor with the old Bullpen. But before we get to all that, we've got some previewing to do. We've got the things that happen off the pitch to look forward to and keep an eye on. So let's start with the grand opening of the MFC Fan Store. And, you know, after what seems like years, the fan store is now open. Apart from selling just merchandise, there's also a mini AstroTurf field, which is apparently going to be used for skill sessions and birthday parties. We'll see what happens with that. There's an E-station, so fans can play FIFA. And there's also a press conference area, so the kids can go in there and pretend like they're on FIFA. They're addressing the press gallery following a game.
Yeah, might have to give you a run in the FIFA section there, I think.
Oh, mate, you'll cream me. I will give $10 to any person who can beat Daniel on FIFA in the E station.
Let's just hope Dean doesn't listen to this podcast. But anyway.
Yeah.
Let's kick on.
Anyway. So we worry, though, a little bit. I worry because, you know, as 10-year-olds, if I saw this happening, I'd be like frothing over it. I'd be loving this. I remember when we went down to Melbourne to see the Liverpool FC game, and there was all the stores like Adidas and Nike had sort of a fan experience thing to capitalize on that. And that was a lot of fun. But it feels a little bit gimmicky. Like I wonder, after the first time that a kid walks into the store and sees the pitch and sees the press gallery and the E-station, is it actually going to be something they're going to go back and do, or is it just going to be a little gimmick?
Yeah, it's too early to say whether it'll have that staying power to really be a consistent eye catcher and like sort of stay in the minds of people. Whether or not it just ends up turning into a merchandise store, whether they can keep it fresh, potentially if they keep creating sort of events like this, then it might help prolong its legacy.
Yeah, definitely. It's one of those tricky things because a club is so much based upon community, but you have a bit of a abrasiveness when you have community up against commerce, right? And obviously the club, at the end of the day, want to sell as much merchandise as possible. They want to make it a welcoming environment for people. And I'm of course thinking that kids are just going to love this place for at least the first little bit. But, you know, at the end of the day, they do want to be making their cash. And somehow I see it as a little bit antithetical to the community spirit that we should have. It should be sort of an open area, but it's, you know, it's tucked right up in the corner of Macarthur Square. If you didn't know it was there, you probably wouldn't walk past it too often. But having said that, we're being obviously very negative right now. It was, from what I saw, I was unable to actually attend the store opening, but from what I saw on social media, it was really well received by people on social media. The club made up for the delay by getting their players out there to sign jerseys and other merch. And, you know, good publicity. Glad the players actually got sort of a taste of our local community. But you have to ask, like, was it worth the wait?
Yeah, as you said, it was received very well on social media, and being at the square, Macarthur Square that day, even me, who's usually the negative type, once I saw a few Macarthur FC players wandering around, you could feel the buzz, the electricity. Whether or not it was the Macarthur store opening or the new Vietnamese restaurant remains to be seen. But no, it definitely it looked lively at the square. There was players all about the outside section, just grabbing lunch, just going about their day. Managed to run into a few of them, Genro, Franjic and Federici. Had a quick chat to a couple of them. They were just kicking back, having fun, chilling. having some good banter. So
Served up a couple palmies, I believe.
yeah, Genro loves a Diet Coke. He's watching the calories. I
Always
won't get
gotta watch
into
those
too
calories.
much, but yeah, won't get into too much. But no, it was good to see him.
You got his number, didn't you?
Yeah, no.
Alrighty. Well, no, it's good to see the team out in the community and actually having a bit of interaction, because we know that some of our higher salaried players have been set up on Bondi Beach. Loic Puyo, if you follow him on Instagram, all he does is surf, just like Lockie Rose. But yeah, and I know the Matt Derbyshire and Ben Yatt and Sisayeda, they're all sort of based in the city. So it's good for them to get a bit of community engagement. Moving on from that, we're going to have a quick look at news that came out today about an emerging commercial partnership with the South Sydney Rabbitohs Rugby Club. It looks a little odd on the face of it, but having read the article, you can take it kind of either way. I'm a little bit hesitant. I think that we're not that desperate straight away that we need to be, fishing in other sporting geographies, so to speak. But, it is an interesting development. It's sort of unseen in any other sports codes.
There's been quite a little bit of confusion I've seen on social media. Obviously, a same sort of thing happens with the NPL partnership with Northbridge. The fans just sort of are thinking like, oh, we're a Macarthur-based team. Why aren't we partnering with what's around us? And there just seems to be that sort of like, oh, what's the club doing? What's the club getting out of these partnerships that's on the surface seem to be far away? But whether or not it's just seeing there's opportunity there to attract talent and sort of push through this COVID phase by creating these deals and events for fans, and try to subtract the most out of what they have to offer.
It's a tricky time, and I guess you can't really fault the owners, because at the end of the day, whether we like to admit it or not, and we're football purists here, but at the end of the day, it is a business. They need to make sure that their bottom line is looked after, so that they can put on performances for us that we love to go and watch. In the fine print of the article that the Macarthur FC have put out, they've said that there's going to be reciprocal access to one-off games in each season for members. So that means Rabbitohs members can come and watch a Macarthur FC game. That game is against Adelaide United on the 12th of Feb. Bit of an odd one. I don't know how heavily that's going to be pushed by Souths. I mean, I'm not a Souths member myself, but it remains to be seen. Maybe the club is thinking, there's a big proportion of Campbelltown locals who actually support Souths. Apparently, I've read that Souths as well better supported than West Tigers in the area, which I struggle to believe, but it's not out of the realm of possibility.
Yeah, it's, supposedly they have more memberships in the area, and I think the Rabbitohs sort of see the Southwest Sydney district of Macarthur, Campbelltown, and then sort of that Menangle area as a future growth. Like, it's not just a short-term money earning tactic that's come about of this partnership. It seems to have its feet in the future. Like, there's talk of, by 2036 there's going to be 10,000 more homes and whatever. So they see it as a future project, which hopefully it can be something like that. But
it'll be a bit strange if the FFA, Football Australia as they've rebranded to now, if Football Australia push forward with the alignment of the football calendar to winter, they'll be direct competitors. And I don't know if this is just a quick little investment that's going to dissipate over the years, or if it's going to stay with us. But one of the really strange snippets is that Rabbitohs gear will be sold at our store. And right now, I mean, you can't just go in there unless you've pre-ordered. You can't go in there and get a Macarthur jersey. So that's a bit strange. Absolutely bizarre. Like, I know that commercial partnerships are very important, but man, we haven't had the store for a week and they're already selling other teams' jerseys in there. I granted it's another code, but man, that doesn't seem right to me.
Yeah, and as it is, there doesn't seem to be much harmony between the two codes because it always seems to be, when you're younger, it's either rugby or football that you're playing.
Yeah,
And I don't know about you, but I've not watched an NRL game in 3 or 4 years. So
yeah,
for me personally, I'd have no interest in going to that reciprocal game. So.
Yeah, neither. I would not go to a Souths game, but it's it seems like no matter what sporting event in the world, there's always someone in a Souths jersey. So maybe this is a good move by the club. Looking further into it, the move seems to be backed by Gino Mara. Now he's got a stake in, or we don't know the particulars, but he's involved with MeSim, which is one of our major sponsors. So they're partnering with the Rabbitohs on their own to push out a mobile platform called Rabbitohs Mobile. And this, to me, seems like a bit of a vertical integration step by Gino. If he can get his mobile platform out there with the Rabbitohs, maybe the reciprocal thing from the Rabbitohs is to advertise a few Macarthur FC games. And maybe that means that he can profit from the move and pump more money into the club. Or maybe it doesn't. Maybe he just gets rich off it. We don't know. And there could be stipulations about shared revenue streams or commercial opportunities. The article was vague on that. They did say that there was going to be joint venture commercial opportunities in the future, but there were scant on details about how that would come about. What it really seemed to signal was, like you said, Souths moving or targeting our area. And part of that is also their charity, Souths Cares, which focuses on education, employment and health promotion. So that's going to be reaching into the Campbelltown and Camden local councils. Out of this move, do you reckon that it benefits rugby league or football more?
I would, off the bat, I think it just benefits the Rabbitohs a lot more than it probably does to us, because they're going to be really going for this community, the Campbelltown community, just to try and get more members on board down the line. And as you can see with like the South Mobile, and they have all these other sort of diversification strategies going on to raise revenue for the South club. It just seems like another step for them, which from the South's point of view is a great move, but whether or not us, Macarthur FC, is being sort of exploited by Souths, whether it's a mutual benefit, we'll have to wait and see. But I think the Souths definitely have the better end of this deal on the surface.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things that we'll have to just wait and see how it plays out. But it's not immediately clear, like, wow, what good news. A lot of consternation about it not being a partnership with the West Tigers, but I draw the line at even, like, why would you partner with a direct competitor in the sporting landscape? Maybe it's just, I don't know what to make of it, to be honest with you. Like you said, on the face of it, it seems to favour rugby league.
Yeah, there's been a lot of, like the club itself said, it's the first sort of partnership of its kind, but maybe that's why.
Yeah. But who knows? Maybe it could pay dividends for us in the future. Maybe we get a couple of promising youngsters coming up through South who realise that they'd rather kick a ball than be tackled, crushed into the ground. Maybe. I don't know. Anyway, up next for you, the lovely, adoring and beautiful Bullpen audience. You guys are going to be treated to an interview with two members of the Bullpen. They're going to jump on here and say their piece. So we'll leave you to that. And on the other side, we'll be previewing the Sydney FC game coming up against Macarthur FC at home. See you on the other side. So for the very first time, we have guests on the Bull Banter podcast. I'd like to welcome Matthew Daprossi and Joe Paragalli, who are representing the Bullpen. You guys are part of the committee, is that correct?
Yeah, that is.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
correct.
Awesome. So we'll jump straight into it. The very first question I wanted to ask you was, what circumstances led to you guys being on the committee for the Bullpen?
So originally there was an old Bullpen, and they had problems with the club. At one stage, it basically became untenable for the old Bullpen to continue. They approached me and Joe and asked us if we wanted to take over. From that point, we basically took control and started to move from there to make the committee.
So just wanted to push a little bit further into that. So the club approached you to create a new Bullpen. Did they outline sort of the reasons for that?
So sorry, the old Bullpen approached us to yes. There was one or two members in our committee that the club did approach. But from what the conversation we had with the old Bullpen, we started just talking to everyone. And through that conversation, we found out that the club had contacted other people. Yeah,
okay. So it seems like you guys are a bit more of a collective group than sort of being just headed by one individual or, a smaller group. It seems to be a bit more community based.
Yeah, that's correct. So our committee is based on 11 people. It's only based on that because we had to start somewhere. So originally this happened before the first game. So I literally just went on a lot of the pages, started seeing who was commenting and asked them if they're involved. And we made the committee from that. So there is people that we still don't know because of that reason. Yeah. But yeah, I just got as many people as I could involved and to grow the committee.
Oh, well, in that respect, I guess it sounds like quite a built from the ground up sort of approach, which is, I suppose, a good thing to see, especially for an active support group. But getting into it a bit more, obviously, there's been a bit of criticism coming your way from the so-called original Bullpen. Do you think that criticism was fair enough or a bit over the top, or what was your sort of perspective?
We do think it is over the top. So their main thing of criticism is that we are owned by the club. The thing people aren't realising is that there is a difference between support for the Bullpen and ownership of the Bullpen. As soon as the club gets involved in anything Bullpen related, they jump on and say they're owned by us. Currently, we've got 40 members in the Bullpen, so we need to grow somehow. So the club showing support of us is exactly that. That's all it is.
So it's just an endorsement. There's actually no, I guess, connections between you and the club leadership. Like no one's giving you directions, no one's telling you what to do, kind of thing.
Yeah, that's correct. So none of them are involved in any of our decisions. We have our own entity. They did take the trademark for the Macarthur Bullpen, and over the last week, we've asked for that, and they're in the process of getting that transferred.
Okay, so that's really interesting because I think that was the main concern of a lot of people who, maybe initially signed up for active support, and then before the first ball's even kicked, they've been relocated and then had the trademark taken, or not taken off them, but just kind of snatched out of thin air. I think, people are a bit weary of, clubs trying to intervene too much in active support. We've seen how it's gone in Australia previously with the over-policing and, the destruction a bit of active support. So the endorsement of the Bullpen by the club is good, but I'm glad to hear that it's not, it's not anything to do with leadership or directing. You guys are an organic organisation.
Yeah, that's exactly how it is. So they came to us with the club came to us with a few things they wanted us to do, make our own entity, be non-for-profit, stuff like that. And as soon as we've presented them everything, they're now working on getting that transferred over to us. So
Okay.
we do hope to have that done within about the next week. And we will make a statement on that as soon as it is officially over to us.
Okay, fantastic. That's really good news. Building off of that, what do you expect to do once you do have that trademark? Because then the bullpen is in your name in the committee's name, and you're able to, perhaps make merchandise and really push forward. So what are you hoping to sort of see occur over the next year after receiving that trademark?
So we have started merch already, and the club is aware of that. We've started merch with t-shirts yesterday, and we're sort of hoping that in the next week or so we can release some scarves as well.
Brilliant.
From that, TIFOs and stuff like that we've spoken about, but a lot of that does take money.
Yeah, you need to do fundraising first, obviously. So I'm supposing that scarves and your t-shirts that you talked about is going to be the first sort of effort to fundraise for things like TIFOs, like flags and banners and other stuff like that.
Yeah, 100%, definitely. We're looking at doing a few things with the money. I've seen some of the clubs already. They've started using the safe smoke and everything like that. I think I want to look into that as well, and I think that'd be good for us to start using as well.
Yeah, because obviously, there's a stigma around, and obviously rules around the use of flares. We've seen Western Sydney cop massive bans for that, and even though they are a lot of fun and there's no pyro, no party, we still have to abide by the rules, don't we? So yeah, we don't want to have the team losing points or, the club being fined massive amounts. So I think if that's an alternative we can pursue, that's a really good thing. Moving on a little bit, in your opinion, what do you guys think the club could do to actually improve the match day experience? So obviously your Bullpen Group will be a part of that, but more broadly, what can the club do maybe a bit better from what you've seen so far on game day at Campbelltown Stadium?
So we've had a few meetings with the club, and we've spoken about a lot of stuff on this note. The main thing for us at the moment is ticket prices. There is reasons behind the club doing that. Right now, basically, policing is they're having to pay full price for that, but only being able to sell 25% of tickets.
So it's an issue of economics, as in, you can't get as many fans through the gates, but you still got to pay the cops what they're worth and the security what they're worth. And I don't know what the situation necessarily is with stadium hire. I'd seen it somewhere reported that the club only pays $1 per year to Campbelltown Council to lease the stadium. Has that been discussed at all?
It has briefly, and from what we've been told, that isn't exactly true. I don't know much, so I don't want to say too much of that, but I believe that deal was signed and then catering and everything else got involved. So they actually haven't been able to dictate the prices the way they hoped. Yeah. As I said, that's not something that we've really been involved in. So I don't really want to talk on behalf of the club, but they have said that, that they're the issues.
Fair enough. So anything else that you would want the club to do apart from, maybe changing the prices when they're able to, when COVID restrictions are relaxed a bit and we can get a full 100% stadium use? What else would you like them to do?
Well, other than prices, I don't know what else they can do for us. The thing that's holding us back at the moment is these COVID restrictions. We can't chant, we can't do anything like that. Once we can do that, I feel like the game day experience is going to be 100 times better.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
It definitely won't be clouded out in those cowbells, but it definitely be interesting down the line. It can get the smoke and all that stuff involved just a bit more than just those cowbells that
Yeah. 'Cause
destroy your ears on the telly, even though they're fun. But
they're good, man. Like when they're putting off opposition goalkeepers and whatnot, they're fantastic. But sometimes, if the whole crowd doesn't get into it, I reckon it sometimes sounds like, on a Sunday morning when your dad takes out the recycling and he's just dropping all the beer bottles into the recycling. But, maybe we can make it sound a bit better. I don't know if you have it. Do you have any ideas of if you're going to use them in your chants or when everything opens up, of course?
They're definitely gonna be a part somehow. Right now, it's actually good for us because we can't chant.
Yeah.
So it's a way of us creating our atmosphere without being able to do that. They're definitely a part of us, and let's be honest, the fact that people hate them makes them even better.
Yeah, definitely.
Right?
Yeah.
So they'll definitely be a part. We'll have chants and stuff to minimize it, but they'll definitely have to be a part somehow.
Yeah.
I feel like they will definitely die down once the chanting starts. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's the best you can make of a bad situation, I suppose, with needing to have an atmosphere. Those noisemakers do fill in the role of chanting, but what else can you do until the restrictions are eased? And yeah, finally, I guess we'll leave on a bit of a upper note. What's the first chant going to be rolled out? What do you reckon?
So we've got a few. We've got Olay, Olay, Olay. We've got
there's a few of them. We've got a list of them ready to go.
Surely Lockie Rose gets his own chant.
Oh, we're working on one.
All right. I won't make you guys give it away. I won't scoop you too much. We'll wait for match day when you can really belt it out in proper fashion. Thank you guys so much, Joe and Matthew from the Bullpen. Thanks for coming on to Bull Banter.
Yeah, thanks guys. Thank you.
Appreciate it. Catch you later, guys.
See ya.
Well, that was some interesting listening. And now we're on to a preview of round 5. Thank you for sticking with us on this one. Sydney, we're going to have a look at them. They've lost their last one up against Central Coast Mariners at home. A very similar story to the one that got told at Campbelltown when Central Coast visited us earlier in the season. What did you make of it, Daniel?
Yeah, obviously similar story, was the same scoreline in fact, and Mariners just look good against those sorts of teams that like to keep the ball and sort of break teams down like ourselves and Sydney do. But it has to be said that Sydney were pretty unlucky not to get a result out of the game. They were pretty sloppy in the box and were often snatching at chances when they rose. But yeah, just Central Coast Mariners getting another good result against a top team.
Yeah, you can tell that Stajic just has drilled them to within an inch of their lives. And the boys, the young lads that they got there just really believe in him and they're getting results and good, fair play to them. But our opponent is Sydney. You have to say that, they looked like they play like us, but they're creating more chances. As you brought up rightly, that they had a lot of chances that, went astray. Ones that were falling to Trent Buhaja and Costa Barbarouses, which were not converted. You could say maybe that they're missing a bit of their killer instinct. In previous seasons, they've always had this talismanic striker, this person who can get them over 20 goals a season, going back as far as Mark Yanko. Then they had Bobo, and of course now Lafondro was there, and Bobo's back, but he's still getting up to speed. So they're putting their faith in youth with Buhaja and Barbarouses, who looks a shadow of the player he once was. So maybe they need someone like Bobo to come in to really, hit their stride, but we hope not against us, obviously, though it is unclear that if Bobo will start. You can also expect that Sydney won't change their game plan. They never do. They're just so well drilled at what they do, and often it pays dividends for them. And we're not going to change our game plan either. So it'll be two teams that will look to sit back, get possession, build up slowly, tire out their opponents. It could be a really tense fixture. Like if we're spending the first 45 just figuring each other out, I don't know, it could end up being a 0-0. Or if, both coaches decide, no, we're really going to try and press our advantage, particularly in that second half, if nothing's really happened yet. I can see if Steve Corica really wants to sort of press the advantage in that second half, because he's probably desperate for a win. I mean, it was a shock loss to Central Coast. You can see the teams being a bit more expressive in the second half, but generally in play, Sydney move the ball quicker. They do our game plan probably a little bit better than us, and they create more chances in the box. They don't get as many balls in the box, but they create more chances in the box.
Yeah, I just feel that they have more innovative players going forward, but then obviously lacking that talismanic striker, as you said, that can put the chances away. But I think they'll definitely be creating more than us in the game, and that's what we have to go in expecting, that they're going to be coming at us. But yeah, we do play the same sort of game to Sydney, but I think it should be an exciting, low-scoring match, if that's a thing that exists.
You never know. If we catch them with one early and they really let rip at us, and then they leave themselves a bit exposed at the back, it could be 4-0. Who knows?
Could be looking at a 5-4.
Yeah, I mean, that'd be a lot of fun.
A-League.
Standard A-League. I mean, why not go 5-5? Do one better than Perth and Western United. But no, it could end up, end to end, especially later in the game, as we said. Yeah, it's a tough one. Looking at the game they had against Central Coast, where they were really exposed was when they had a long spell of possession and the pressure was building and it wasn't telling. And then because they were at home again with their own fans, maybe getting on their backs a bit, like, come on, why haven't you put a couple past Central Coast? The pressure was building on them, and to do something. So they were pushing even harder and getting a bit riskier. And if you watch that first goal back that Central Coast scored against Sydney, it was actually Daniel Bowman going down the left wing, and Ryan Grant had pushed all the way up and not tracked back. Usually he's great at it, but he did not track back. So Bratton had to fill in from that midfield position. And Bratton, he's a good player, but he's not the quickest. And so Bowman was able to get around him, put in a dangerous cross, and, with the pressure of Matt Simon on Ben Warland there, he just made a poor touch, and it was 1-0.
Yeah, and that goal came right after the disallowed goal for Sydney FC. So it could just be that they capitulated and just got caught. They might have thought, oh, we've thrown everything we can at this game, and then just took the foot off the gas, or a bit sort of mentally out of it. And then Mariners just capitalized a couple minutes later.
Yeah, it's almost a carbon copy of the goal that Central Coast scored against us with Smiley, the second one, where we just threw everything at them, time after time for 5-6 minutes on end without them getting the ball. Then all of a sudden, because we're getting more and more attacking in our posture, and, they do have some dangerous players on the counter. All it took was a good through ball and a good run through from a young bloke, and, it paid for them. So that's maybe something we could do if we're looking at the outlet of Lachlan Rose. But I don't see us necessarily catching them like that. They will have looked at that on the footage over the middle of the week, and probably identified that as a bit of a area where they're culpable. So what I really see happening is, a tense game that opens up as it goes on, and potentially we score our goals through set piece opportunities, or, one of our 20 to 30 crosses a game goes in.
I just feel like at the moment, I feel that's the only way we're going to get goals against these sorts of teams. Whereas Sydney, they can go wide, they can go through the middle, just one touch, two touch passing with, Ninkovic and Caceres. They looked very dangerous against Mariners, and I think they'll be dangerous even more so against Macarthur on the weekend.
Yeah, they're a class outfit. I do hope that Sujnyar and Jovanovic can be back, the pair back in centre defence there, because we do need Milligan to run the troops in the midfield. With Jeanreau and Benyat in the midfield, it does feel a little bit it feels like it lacks a bit of muscle, that midfield, because they are tidy players, but they're not necessarily players that are known for their combativeness and tackling. And, Sydney have got Bratton, Ninkovic and Caceres who run the show for them. Bratton's hard as nails. Ninkovic is all class. You're not going to get the ball off him unless you foul him. And Caceres can do both. So it's going to be one of those ones where we're going to have to really graft and make the most of our opportunities, certainly, which I don't know if we've really done that so far. We've spurned a couple of chances here and there. But I'd also like to see us create a few more chances, and hopefully with a bit more fitness coming through, with a bit more, gelling of the team over the last couple of weeks when they've been able to train. Hopefully we'll start to see all the class that we have on paper start to pay dividends in reality.
Yeah, you'd have to feel that Milligan comes back into that central defensive mid role just to really shore up our defense, and give us that confidence that we were lacking last time out.
Yeah, definitely. So to finalize it, what do you reckon? Where are you putting your money? What's the score prediction for tomorrow night's game?
I'm going to go for a high-scoring 1-1 draw.
Lots of VAR rule-outs, high-scoring 1-1.
I think, again, I'm going to take the conservative approach, and I think it's either a draw or a Sydney win coming out of this game.
Yeah, sadly, I don't see us doing the business over Sydney. They'll have been, slapped into a bit of reality after that loss to Central Coast Mariners at home, and they'll come out looking to prove a point, not only because, we're the new boys and they want to assert themselves as kings of the city, but also, we're charging their away fans,
yes,
a full pineapple to coming to Campbelltown and then catching the train home or going back home through the the M7 or sorry M5.
Oh, maybe that will come back to help. Maybe that'll come back to help us if we've got a full Macarthur Stadium, no Sydney FC fans inside. As if they're boycotting the game for these steep prices, we hopefully the bells ringing loud. And,
yeah, definitely. Although I think they'll show up. I mean, they can just take the money out of their equity, can't they? Anyway, so with that being said, we're looking forward to the game. We want to be loud and proud and out there. I don't think the chanting's allowed still, despite the fact that some restrictions have lifted for COVID in New South Wales. But
February 1st, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right.
That's the cutoff.
Yeah. So we'll see you guys out there. It's surely one not to be missed. If we can get the business done over Sydney FC, that'd be a huge coup. They are the current champions. So don't miss that one. It kicks off at 7:10 p.m. Saturday, the 30th of January. And until next time, we'll see you on the Bull Banter podcast. Go you Bulls.